Monday, May 20th, 2024. We're in the Durham Town Hall, Council Chambers, 7 o'clock, and this meeting is called to order. So let's go ahead and do a roll first. So just introduce yourselves. And M. Friedrichs will be late, so she'll be joining us later.
Curtis Register.
Darrell Ford.
Eric Lund.
Joe Friedman.
Sally Needell.
I'm Todd Zelig. I'm the administrator.
James Buber.
Heather Grant.
All right. Want to see any changes made to the agenda before we get started? No? In that case, I move that we approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor Lund. All right. Any discussion? Already asked that question. All right. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed? Looks unanimous. Great. No special announcements tonight. Public comments. Anyone like to speak tonight? You have 5 minutes. Make sure you give us your name and your address. Thank you.
William Hall, Durham. I'm responding to something Mr. Burton said last week when he commented on the pool being $6 million and the university had paid for it. Well, the university has a $700 million budget, and we have an $18 million budget. University water. This was back before Todd got here. The leak was in Durham and we had to pay for it. Well, we had a formula for how much we limited with a consultant, but the administrator at the time said it was too difficult to figure out that formula. I got some of the money back, but nowhere near what I should have, and the university was madder than a hive of bees. So based on that work and when we had a really good business administrator, the town just decided to pump all the water that we needed from our well, and we don't pay the university anything. And that was at the same time that we found out the university meter was over-registering by 50% during the winter. The over-registering went down in the summer. When the transition, when Todd came, right when he came, they sent us a bill for $89,000 for water that Todd paid. And I went to him and said, we don't pay those anymore. We settled that issue. Well, he wasn't going to get the money back. But to show you why it was wrong, anymore for water at the university for 20 years. So why were we paying that one? So that mess cost us about $1 million, the ratepayers in Durham, when all was said and done, before we fought with them for 15 years to get their meter serviced, and things like Huddleston, the meter wasn't working, it was valved out. So the university had us paying, saying there was a leak in Durham. So then they found out that treating the water from Oyster River was poor. You had poor water and you put in a lot of chemicals, and now you got poor water with a lot of chemicals in it. And because they were over-registering, they put in 50% more chemicals and was eating the pipes, in the main pipes, the distribution ones. So they decided to put a line down Mill Road. Now this is from the university's pump on the Lamprey to the university's water pump. It's got nothing to do with us. They didn't pay for us to put in our well or the miles of pipe involved with that. We had to pay that. They kicked us off their system. But they still want us to pay for their system. Now Mill Road, notice that's just short of $1 million. But we'll call it $1 million. The Spruce Hole well, our share of that was over $1 million, something like $1.5 million. We split that with UNH. So there's another $1.5 million. That's $3.5 million we're up to. Then we get to the water tower. UNH didn't pay anything for the Beach Hill lawsuit or refurbishing the Beach Hill water tower. Then we get to the water tower on, and by the way, they took $250,000 from the ratepayers to pay that lawsuit off. I came in twice and said, you don't stand a prayer of winning that lawsuit. Any first-year law school student could figure that one out. Then we get to the Foss Farm tank that we just did, $800,000. Todd gets a bond to do it. The university's supposed to pay their share, which is the same. Paid 2/3 to build it. They paid 65% of the bond to purchase it. It's on university land, and so we paid the $800,000, and Todd just didn't bill the university for their $500,000. So there's another $500,000. So we're up to $4 million. So when we got the pool, I think we've paid for our share of the pool. But everything goes one way. It never comes our way. It's always, we pay stuff for the university, at least since Todd's been here.
Anyone else like to speak tonight? I don't know if there's anyone on Zoom.
No, there's nobody with their hand up on Zoom.
Okay. In that case, at this time, we usually have UNH Student Senate External Affairs Chair report. But I know that they're just had graduation, and we do have a new rep that will be coming, but we don't know yet whether she's here for the summer, so. Yeah.
She wrote to me and indicated she would not be here during the summer, but
Okay.
would start coming to council meetings.
When they're back.
When they're back.
Okay, wonderful. All right, in that case, we're up to the unanimous consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull any of those motions? Seeing no one, I will move ahead. Okay. So I'm going to move the following 8 motions. I move the Durham Town Council does hereby authorize the administrator to sign the Town of Durham's first half 2024 tax warrant and directs the town clerk tax collector to collect partial payment, $1,709. The Durham Town Council does hereby, upon recommendation of the administrator, authorize the transfer of American Rescue Plan Act funding totaling $143,863.86, previously budgeted in the Water Capital Fund, to the General Capital Fund for the Madbury Roadway Drainage and Sidewalk Capital Project. Durham Town Council does hereby, upon recommendation of the administrator, award the construction contract for the Madbury Road Complete Streets Phase 1 roadway drainage and streetscape project to G.W. Brooks & Sons Incorporated for a total bid price not to exceed $2,602,681.80, subject to available funding. The Durham Town Council does hereby, upon recommendation of the administrator, approve the construction, inspection, design, and administration contract for the Madbury Road Complete Streets roadway drainage and streetscape project to the VHB Engineers of Bedford, New Hampshire, in the amount of $296,080, subject to available funding. The Durham Town Council does hereby, upon recommendation of the administrator, award the paving contract for the Madbury Road Complete Streets Phase 1 roadway drainage and streetscape project to Continental Paving Incorporated for a total bid price not to exceed $256,499.80, subject to available funding. The Durham Town Council does hereby revenues and expenditures of the capital equipment accounts 07-2306-801 and 07-2406-801 to the 2023 aerial bucket truck replacement purchase account 07322-801. The Durham Town Council does hereby, upon recommendation of the administrator, authorize the purchase of a new 2024 Ford F550 cab and chassis, brand FX service body, and VersaLift aerial lift from CUES Incorporated of Amherst, New Hampshire, in the amount of $137,828 from the 2023 aerial bucket truck replacement purchase account 07-2322-801. And the town does hereby unseal the non-public session minutes from the year 2003, dated April 7th and December 1st, and from the year 2004, dated April 19th, October 4th, December 6th, and December 20th. Is there a second?
Second that.
Second from Councilor Grant. Roll call vote. We'll start here.
Curtis Register, aye.
Darrell Ford, aye.
Eric Lund, aye.
Wayne Burton, aye.
Joe Friedman, aye.
Sally Nadell, aye.
James Bubar, aye.
Heather Grant, aye.
Moving right along here. Despite all those motions. Committee appointments, we have one trustees chair to appoint Catherine Gatcomb, 22A Simons Lanes, to fill an alternate membership on the library with a term expiration of 2025. And Catherine is here tonight, so if you have any questions or comments for her, do you want to come up to the podium and introduce yourself? Okay.
Yes, hi, I'm Catherine Gatcomb. Thank you for your consideration. I was a UNH graduate in 2015, just moved back to Durham in September. I have a master's degree in library science, and I am currently not working in a library, but I miss the library, and I love the Durham Library, so I saw an opening for a trustee, and I would love to give back to the community. I visit the library with my daughter once a week. And I think my experience as a librarian could be valuable to that committee. So, yeah,
Great.
thank you for your
Welcome back.
consideration.
Yes, great. Any questions? All right. Well, we're thrilled that you're bringing your experience to the library. All right.
you.
So I move the Durham Town Council to appoint Catherine Gatcomb, 22A Simons Lane, to fill an alternate membership on the Library Board of Trustees with a term expiration of April 2025. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilor Register. All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Looks unanimous. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
All right. 10. We'd like to hear about the ice rink.
So I gotta fire this up here.
Okay?
There's HDMI.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
There should be an HDMI adapter on the table there.
Yep, I'm getting ready to plug it in.
Okay, good.
Thank you, though. I am this guy.
Yes, she did.
Okay. Wow, there I am.
Oh, here we are.
Let's get this thing open here. So just to get going, just want to say hi to the new council people. Haven't met you guys yet, but hopefully will in the future. Nice to see you. I think you're the rink's neighbor.
Yeah. I got mine
An eye
right
on
there,
you.
so-
You do?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Yeah, so once a year, I come before town council and give a recap of the season right about now. This year, I'm excited to be able to do a second presentation after the recap of the season where regarding a potential for a renovation at the rink. Hang on one second, let me finish this setup here. 88, 89, 90. Hang on one second. All right, slideshow. Let's go to the beginning. Ooh, that's not the scene I'm used to. Sorry. Who knows how to get this view? I mean oh no, that's right, I'm sorry. Recap of this past season, which anniversary of skating on site at Jackson's Landing, not always at Churchill Rink, but on that facility. This has been ice skating going on for 50 years. We had a great season this year. We had no major malfunctions, which running an old rink is actually a pretty big deal. Like seriously, the biggest problem we had this year was the garage door spring broke on the Zamboni room, which was a bit of a nightmare one night. But we blocked it up with a 2x4 and got it fixed a couple days later. Great staff this year, had a lot of fun with the customers at the rink because we had a really fun staff. We had good weather for Jackson's Landing. It is an outdoor rink, but when it's too cold, it's a problem. And when it snows a lot, it's a problem. And this winter, although the ponds didn't freeze, was a great season at the rink weather-wise because we didn't have to cancel any sessions because of the weather. We only broke one piece of glass all year, which is a big deal at an ice rink. Of a municipal ice rink and getting your facility on the front cover of the annual report is kind of like getting on the front of Sports Illustrated. I have to tell you. So, like, getting that on there this year was a big deal because we're working towards making some major improvements, and all the exposure, is good. On top of that, we had the Oyster River High School boys team win the state championship, which was huge. I really, really, really wanted the girls team to win the championship too, and they came really close because that would have been a perfect situation for us. I'm sure they'll win it. Public skating, we've seen a huge uptick in public skating over the last 3 years since COVID. Shoulder admissions, which was up 2,486. Adults, we sold 3,500, which was up 866. Hockey admissions, which is made up of 3 different types of sessions, pond hockey, stick and puck, and drop-in hockey, was also up. But total public, 114 pairs of rental skates for $8,000, and I was like worried I wasn't going to make that back. Well, this past season we rented 5,600 and pairs of rental skates, $28,000. It just baffles me how many people don't have skates. Season passes, we sold 133. They're available to residents of area people that buy them are from Durham, Lee, Madbury, and then Newmarket is like the 3rd highest. We did almost $17,000 in concessions, notably 2,324 hot chocolates and 6,820 Friday and Saturday nights when we have the fun skate sessions. It's kind of a little joke I like to share with you guys. And the total for the season that just ended was $183,000. We also sell, our second biggest, actually it's our first biggest revenue source is group rentals. And total for this past season was $232,000. That's the season, and now I want to talk fiscal year real quick because where the town's fiscal year is January. The fiscal year that just ended, 2023, we did and we added $93,000 to the rink fund balance. The fund balance on December 31st was at $406,000. And for those of you that may be new on council, the fund balance is important because the rink at town hall for paying my bills and whatnot at the rink, but we are self-sufficient at the rink for all our operating costs, including my salary, propane, electricity, all that stuff. Quick little fiscal history. I like to see, over the last 8 years, our net revenue totaled $329,789, which averages $41,000 per year, with a high of 93, and that low, there was only one negative, and it was COVID. So that's the only reason. And as I said, the fiscal history is important because we are mandated to be self-sufficient with no tax dollars supporting the rink. The season ended on a high note. When the high school team won the state championship, we had a week to go before the rink closed, and maybe it was 2 weeks, I can't remember, but I had 3 hours of ice on a Friday night that wasn't booked, and we created this quick event, Rachel and I, called Celebrate Oyster River Hockey, and it was amazing. People had so much fun. The parents were all smiles. All the teams that won a trophy, even if they didn't win a trophy, I gave them a mock trophy, and they skated around the rink like they had won the Stanley Cup, and we played We Are the Champions or whatever it was. So it was a good event. We're going to do it every year because it was really appreciated by the people. And we hung a banner up for the high school team, first ever banner at the rink for state championship team. So that'll stay up there in perpetuity. All right, so that's the end of my recap. I'm not going to bore you with nitty-gritty details about what we fixed and all that stuff. If anyone has any presentation.
Good job home running a season.
Yeah, it was a good season.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm not going to go backwards too much because I assume that people that run for town council have been paying attention to what goes on in town. But last year we started an effort to renovate Landon, and we've branded that group the Jumpstart Jackson's Group. Most people in town, many years, the locals called it Jackson's, so that's what we went with. So I'm going to give you an update on where we stand. Some things established the group, Jumpstart Jackson's Group. It's made up of about I think it's probably right around 15 members of the Oyster River community. And we came to town council and had created the Churchill Rink Donor Trust. So if anyone does donate money to the cause, we will have a means to accept it into the town's books, and then we can use it to make the rink nicer eventually. We've retained a professional firm to conduct a feasibility study. It's the same firm that did a study for the library many, many years ago. That study's on hold right now. We've got architectural drawings and cost in before we move forward. So we're getting ready to start that up again. And then we hired an architectural firm with much of rink experience to create conceptual drawings and renderings for us. Those drawings and renderings were based on me trying to figure out for years the riddle, I call it the riddle of Jackson's Landing, where we've got this small lot with a big building, with a big ice surface in the middle, and not a lot of room to do anything. So what I did last spring was I built myself a one-dimensional scale model of the property and playing with this cardstock to try to figure out if I could do something better at the rink. And what I came up with was this, and then once we decided to hire an architectural firm, I transferred this information to them, and we've since come up with this, which I'm really excited about because it's come out a lot better than I had hoped, because it really did seem like an impossible project to fit a better ice skating facility on that footprint. And I'll give you a tour around. So what I want to do real quick is just go around. There is a playground out back. I've purposely made sure that we didn't kill the playground. We want to keep the playground. It's an asset to the community and to the rink and the rec department. So I purposely did anything out back, long and skinny versus far, because I wanted to retain the playground. This is what it would look like from the sky. The playground in these drawings is a different playground, not because that one, but because the architect didn't want to spend time drawing that particular playground. So this is just a stock playground, although I like it. So maybe if we can afford it, we'll do that too. But this is what the rink, the preliminary concept, I threw those in there.
Is it background?
This is from the same end. So this shows here, I'm gonna see if I can fire up my mouse. Does that show? Oh, whoops, now I'm messing up here. I'm just gonna talk about it. There's a big overhead door there. We've never had the ability to get into the facility. Like even the town's boom truck to change light bulbs doesn't fit in there. And if we're successful at renovating the facility, we wanna be able to have events where we might want a camper or a boat or who knows what. And this will give us access to bring bigger things into the facility. The structure to the right is the what we're calling the changing room addition. These 6 changing rooms, a referee's room, and a coach's room. And I'll show you that. There's that nice playground. I like it. Another view of the playground. This is around the far end of the building, which, you know, goes into the gully, if you will. And those windows right there are some of the feedback we got is that, and I've heard this for years, to be honest with you, but that people wanted to make sure that we retain the views to the outside, if not even the ability to open them, which I would like to do. It's logistically complicated to figure out how to do that with the space we have available, but at a bare minimum, we will have views to the outside. And whether we can open those when the weather's conducive to having them open or not remains to be seen, and it wasn't worth trying to figure it out at this juncture, so we didn't. That structure to your right would be the new Zamboni room, which would be at the far end of the building, away from the patrons that we always have to drive the Zamboni through now. And bad situation that thankfully nothing bad's ever happened, but it would be nice to get rid of that. This is the view from the road. All those windows on the left would be a view into or out of 2 multi-purpose rooms that are along that wall now. Those multi-purpose rooms would be designated for public skating change-in. So when people come into public skate on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, those busy groups, they wouldn't go over to the locker rooms where things go bad because there's no way to keep track of them. We would keep them nearby on our office side. Okay, now let's go inside. Front doors. Now we're in the lobby. You'll notice the bricks and what is supposed to be barnboard, and like, I grew up in New Hampshire and love the history of New Hampshire and love like the look of homes around Durham, and I've tried to make the inside of this building and the outside not look commercial, but look more old. And like, I didn't have my eyes on what you could choose from, but the idea is barn board and brick. And whether or not we can afford that or pull, I really like the way the barn board looks. It's not my kind of barn board. I like more of a brown, but anyway, the point is I want it to look like it fits into the neighborhood on the inside and the outside. As you come in the lobby to the left, those Adirondack chairs are in the way of where the queue would be to get to the windows there, where we would take money for admissions, rent skates, and that sort of thing, concessions, skate sharpening, and that stuff. More of the lobby. Down at the far end on the right there is a set of double doors which leads just to a hallway to access the other side where the locker rooms are, rather than have all the hockey players coming and going in front of the bleachers where the people will be watching. I wanted to give them a kind of a back way to get there. This is looking into the rink from the lobby, and now we're going to go in the lobby. This is where you'd be. We're going to go, well, that's the view from the bleachers. That's the view towards the lobby. You'll notice that opening there on the left. Because we have so little space between the current wall and where the ice has to be, down that hallway we have 2 bathrooms, a manager's office, and 2 multi-purpose rooms. And every one of those rooms had doors in it. And it was taking up too much wall space, so we didn't have enough room for bleachers. So what we did was we bumped it out towards the street a little bit. We put a walkway in there, open. It doesn't have doors, but you go in there, then you can access all those different rooms, which gives us more room for bleachers out on the ice surface. This would be the manager's administrative office. Okay, this is one of the multi-purpose rooms. It would have windows to the outside and windows to the hallway, but also for things like yoga. I think that's yoga. That's what I requested. Might be Tai Chi. There'd be 2 of those rooms. This is at the far end by the Zamboni room. The Zamboni would come out that little door. It's hard to see, and we'd have some more bleachers there. There's those big windows I talked about. Now we're like in the far corner here where the blue is. I don't know how to point with, oh, there it is. Except it doesn't show up there. Okay, never mind. But we've got, down at the far end, we'd have 2 varsity locker rooms, one for the boys and one for the girls. And the idea would be, like most rinks who do this, is they would rent those rooms from us. Like the booster club or the high school, whoever it is, would pay us an annual fee to rent those rooms from us, but they would be dedicated to them. And then there would be 4 use, a coach's room, a referee's room, and 1 extra small room for use when there's a person playing that can't, for one reason or another, dress in a room with the rest of their team. Look like, and then there's the hallway that services all those rooms, and to the right would take you to the ice, actually. And this is what one of the 4 team rooms would look like. There's the hallway back to the lobby, looking the wrong way. More lobby. Okay, so that's basically the picture tour. I had a lot of pictures. I didn't really mean to blow through that quickly, but cost estimating, now that we have the preliminary designs done, I will be working with the management company to come up with some, these aren't build drawings, they're just pretty pictures. Once we get that, we'll resume the financial feasibility study. And then once that's done, if it's feasible, then we'll, and that is the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to take questions.
I have a couple if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought it was a good presentation. I like the night scenes as well.
Yeah.
Definitely needed the theme music in the background.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple of questions I just want to hit on real quick, and
Yeah.
I think they're just yes/no answers. So for the concessions area, was that expanded at all, or is that being done at the ticket sales counter?
It would be one area like it
Okay.
is now. Like, we're not going to go, the plan isn't to go into French fries and hamburgers.
Sure.
It's just candy and drinks and
Yeah,
stuff.
and you were mentioning about the boat and the RV space or whatever. Is there an ability to rent for food trucks or something along those lines in there?
Off season?
I mean,
Yeah, not.
I know
during-
there's a fundraising and
Yeah.
school required stuff, but
anything that would go inside the building would be an off-season event when there was
Sure.
no ice. So, yeah, there's potential that we could do events like that home shows, garden
Like
shows.
a community center type stuff?
Yeah, during the off-season.
Understood.
Yeah.
Next question is, I think you already said it, but I just wanted to clarify. You said there was a unisex bathroom in regards to access for folks that needed to go and do their thing by themselves?
Yeah, well, there'd be only, in this plan, there's only 2 bathrooms,
Okay,
male and female.
okay,
The room I was talking about.
Okay.
It's like a separate locker room in case someone can't dress in the room with their team. So they would, and this happens now, to be
Yep.
honest with you. They dress in another room, and then once they're dressed, they go join their team in
Sure.
the locker room.
okay. Yeah, I think
It's pretty common nowadays.
understood. I think I would be remiss to say that I think Councilor Friedrichs would be interested in seeing a potential opportunity for a unisex bathroom or something along the lines. I don't know exactly what the space requirements would be, but
Yep.
just something to think about. Question is, how do you donate? Is it a social media friendly link, or is it something
Well,
we
we're
can share?
way far away from that right
Sure.
now, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I would assume if we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
that we-
and I'd be happy to help
Yeah.
promote that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Cool.
it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else? Yes? No?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So, in terms of the locker rooms, it looked like there were more than 2. So how many locker rooms are there, and would all of them be rented for a season, or how does that work?
Yeah, there'd be, like, right now, we have 4 locker rooms, Todd, that are 1, 2, 3, 4, all different, for our regular customers who come in and rent the ice. Each ice slot gets 2 rooms. So if it's like a practice, they have 2 rooms. If it's a game, home and away, each get a room. And then there are, in this plan, 2 dedicated locker rooms for the high school teams, that Oyster River high school teams. And they would rent those from us for the season. I imagine they'd also be involved with fundraising for the build out of those. And then there is a referee's room, which is a small room for the referees, a coach's room, which is no amenities, just benches and probably a trash can where they get their skates on to go out for their practice. And then call it the 7th locker room, which would be the extra room for someone who needs a private place to dress because they can't dress in front of, another gender or whatever it might be. Yep.
Have you, in your planning, are you giving consideration to year-round usage? So would it be air-conditioned, and how would the spaces be programmed during
Yeah.
the non-hockey?
Yeah. Yes, I've given consideration to that. It would be very, very rare to air condition a facility like that, but a facility like this, once it's insulated and properly ventilated, will stay cooler in the summer. The fact that it's open and insulated, but to air condition it would be, I haven't even thought of it, to be honest with you, Todd, because I just know how much, even the Whittemore wasn't air conditioned when they first built it. They had to add it after the fact, if I'm not mistaken. But dehumidification, the big ventilation system, will help keep the air comfortable in there. And we could certainly look at air conditioning, because yeah, it would be nice, but it's just a huge expense that most rinks don't have. Did I miss part of your question?
What's that? Okay, yes.
A couple of years ago, I learned more about chillers than I ever needed to know, because we bought a used chiller, I think.
We did.
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
holding up okay?
Yes. We had no, I can't remember if you were on council then or not, but we did have a major malfunction a couple
I've
of
always
years ago.
been on the council, yeah. Good.
Yeah, a great year with that this year. I actually have a new service company now that I'm very happy with, that might have something to do with the reason we didn't have.
We have to buy a new chiller.
We had to buy a new chiller. Well, actually, we didn't buy a new one. The chiller barrel itself, which is like the heart of the system, the tubes corroded, and we had to get it retubed, and it cost us about 80 grand. That was the year we only made $5,000 net profit, but we did pay for that whole project out of our operating budget, not from our fund
But
balance.
for the new facility, you won't have to buy a new chiller?
We wouldn't have to. If we could afford to, I would highly recommend that we do. But we could continue to run with that. But again, if we could afford a new chiller package, I think it would be a worthwhile investment. That one still is, I think it's going on 27 years old now, but
Thank you.
yeah.
Along those lines, Bill, I heard your presentation to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned there about the Zamboni, and I noticed you haven't mentioned it tonight.
Yeah.
Would you mention it?
Yeah, I can't remember what I said at that meeting. I probably said that, our Zamboni is, what is it? It's a 1995 Zamboni, so it's 30 years old roughly, and I think it's time we ordered a new one. And like one of the reasons I used to have a new Zamboni, but then again, like I haven't really wanted to buy it. I've been holding off because I want a place to store our backup. Like I wouldn't sell our old one, I'd keep it for a backup, and we have no place for anything like that now. Like we barely have room to store pucks at the rink. But no, I seriously contemplating putting that in my capital budget for next fiscal year. And I've already talked to Gail about it. So is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think in terms of the topic that Councilor Register brought up, it is really important to look at non-binary locker room, bathroom options. So it's not just an afterthought, but
Sure.
like thought of from the start. And I
Okay.
think the new middle school is a great example where basically all the bathrooms are gender-neutral bathrooms.
Okay.
So this is a very constrained site, so we'll have to think it through, but
Right.
just make sure we do think that through
Okay.
carefully.
Yeah, thanks, Todd.
And it's sort of it's a new area of focus that we haven't spent a lot of time thinking about until now, so.
Right, and my office is right next to what I call the little boys' room. And the amount of time I spend going in there, because I can hear what's happening in there, so I'm constantly getting up, and so we have to talk that through, figure it out, because it's on Friday night, Teen Fun Skates, I think we might have some issues if we had wide open bathrooms with both. So anyway, we'll talk about it.
Great. Anyone else? A question, are you interested in used skates? The swap shop skates come, and would you rather just stay with
No,
what you've
thank you.
got? Good to know. Good to know.
I mean, every night, if they're good, I'll like put them out and say free on them, like if we're open for the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great. Anything else? Great report, thanks very
All
much,
right,
Bill.
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With some unfinished business with the sprinkler systems. Sprinkler code. So this next agenda item has to do with ordinance 2024-03 and amending Chapter 68, Fire Prevention of the Durham Town Code to repeal Article 3, Sprinkler Code. All right, so we have a public hearing tonight, so I'll go ahead with that motion. Durham Town Council does hereby open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-03, amending Chapter 68, Fire Prevention of the Durham Town Code to repeal Article 3, Sprinkler Code. Is there anyone here to speak to the Sprinkler Code? Changes. Ayers.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. My name's Tom Toy. I'm a professional, I'm a member of the Durham Landlords Association. Well versed. I've been working on this particular issue both with the Code Enforcement Office and the Fire Department, and I think it's well vetted. I think it's worthy to thank both the Code Enforcement Office and the Fire Department for taking a thoughtful and reasonable approach to this. Landlords have been upset and concerned about this particular ordinance for a number of years. It had drastic potential for financial impacts, and it's I think that this is the best approach, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But I just wanted to speak in support of the motion that's before you tonight.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Toy? Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom?
Mimi Kell has her hand up
All
on
right.
Zoom.
Hi, can I speak?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Mimi Kell. I'm the president of the Durham Landlord Association, and I'll also keep it brief, but I am, in full support of these revisions being made or proposed to the council. There has been much frustration over the years just with, the unclear language that the ordinance is written currently. That's somewhat led to, inconsistent enforcement throughout the years. And obviously, this would lead to, significant financial burden to property owners that, would have negative consequences if it, were ever enforced. It would cause property owners to have to cut expenses that, would impact the town. A few examples would be, us potentially having to cut our security. We would have to, incur our properties and thus increase the cost of living in the town of Durham. And, among many other reasons, but the DLA as a whole does fully support life safety, and, we want to, make sure our properties are safe and are willing to, make sure our properties are up to code and, do above and beyond, because we do, fully support making our properties safe.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay. Any? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? No?
No, nobody else with their hand
Okay.
up.
Yes, Richard?
I'm Janice Avisa, Garden Lane. I'm a small-time landlord. I've been a member of DLA for a very long time, and I also come to support this new plan to smooth and make this, just make it more concise, and just is better for all of us to be unified on this. It's better. Sorry. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Janet. Anyone else? Doesn't look like it. All right. In that case,
I'd move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
second from Councillor Lund. All right, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. What's that?
Yeah, the second was from Councilor Ford.
Oh.
He beat you to it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give credit to Councillor Ford in that case. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Looks unanimous. Thank you. All right, in that case, I move the Durham Town Council does hereby adopt ordinance 2024-03, amendment of the Durham Town Code to repeal Article 3 Sprinkler Code. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councillor Bouvard.
Eric's just not quick enough today.
He's sharing tonight. He's sharing. Any comment to register?
Curtis Register, aye.
Darrell Ford, aye.
Eric Lund, aye.
Wayne Burton, aye.
Joe Friedman, aye.
Sally Nedell, aye.
James Bubar, aye.
Heather Grant, aye.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to thank the members of the Durham Land Association for taking the time and having the interest to work with the Durham Fire Department tonight from 3 great landlords, and we have a lot of great landlords in town who really work hard to have a high quality of campus experience for UNH students. So thank you to all of them, and thanks to the staff as well.
Yep, thank you. All right. In which case, our next item for tonight is approval of the minutes from the April 15th board meeting. Any changes? Any?
No, I had some minor changes that I set in.
Okay. Anyone else? You were good. I try to
Saying a couple of minor changes. Move that we accept the minutes from April 15th, 2024 with the minor changes indicated.
Is there second? All right. All those in favor, raise hand. Is not here.
That's correct.
All right. Roundtable. Wow, we are cruising tonight. The roundtable. Can we start with you, Councilor Grant? You want to start the roundtable?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was just reading through my notes. So, yes, the meeting of the Housing Task Force was last Monday. There's a lot of discussion and updates on all of the things that are going on at the state level regarding all different pieces of housing. There's a lot of moving parts, and things are shifting almost, like whatever I'd said today is probably not what was talked about on last Monday. So there's definitely a lot of conflicts going on at the state level, but everybody, I think, is cognizant of the issues revolving around housing shortages in the state. Plans that will, bring about that increases. I know they are also, I think they didn't meet, I think it was like 50% of their target of housing growth in the state last year. So I think this particular session is cognizant of that and what to do. The question is and so we'll just have to keep an eye on it. There was a discussion on the term of family in our zoning. I see that we actually have it also in the town council goals on 7D. It's something that we need to look and modernize. It was discussed but missed, I think, the potential of updating before the zoning came over to the council. So that'll be a discussion point, I think, that will come up here. And then there was discussion on their outreach and more continuing discussions and awareness in the town. And then there was an update on the workforce housing or zoning that had come out of the planning board, and it came back to the housing task force just for an update. So that's everything that I have for you today.
Okay. Any questions for Councilor Grant? Okay.
We had a zoning board meeting last week. It was a second hearing on a variance application. The applicant wants to put a shed in their front yard, actually did put a shed in their front yard, and now are coming for a variance. We delayed it again and requested that we get a plot plan. We'd like to understand alternate locations potentially to give the applicant a chance to perhaps revise their plan and not have to run the risk of having it denied and then another filing fee to do it at another location. So, and that was it. Very quiet night, very quick night.
Right. So this particular applicant is basically, are they asking for forgiveness rather than permission, or what's the deal?
Well, they're asking for a variance. It's there, so you can call it forgiveness or permission, but I'm not sure exactly how it came up. I believe that our code administrative officer saw it, essentially said, nah, you didn't have a building because it's in violation of the ordinance. It's in the front. Yeah. The new people to town, you may have some forgiveness for their exuberance to constructing. Don't know where they bought it, don't know whether the people who sold it and brought it there should have known better. But it's what we have to deal with right now. And so we will have another meeting in June, and hopefully it'll be resolved then.
Anything else for Councilor Bubar? All right. The Human Rights Commission has not met since last council meeting, but it will be meeting on May 30th. And then neither Councilor Bubar nor I were able to attend the IMAC committee, but took a look at the minutes. And they had DPW updates, particularly about the toters, the new toters that residents will have, that they would, I think they intend to have them out in 2024. These will be for your trash and your recycling, and they'll be uniform so that when we have trucks that are totally automatic, we'll have the right toters in hand. So there'll be, clearly there's a lot of work to go before these come to all of us, but that's a big part of the discussion. Also, more discussion about compost and considering different approaches they might use for curbside collection, looking at what some other towns are doing. And the next meeting of IMAC is on June 5th at 8 o'clock in here. And that's all I have. Councilor Freeman.
Yes, what's major going on with the Parks and Rec, as well as they're getting ready for the summer season and for Memorial Day, where I think many know there'll be a ceremony on May 27th downtown at the, you call that the Triangle, the Memorial Park there?
Yeah.
The downtown. Yeah, Memorial Park, yeah. The meeting will be this coming Tuesday at 7 PM here in Town Hall offices, May 28th. For the Seacoast Economic Development stakeholders, their next meeting is going to be also on Tuesday morning. It's going to be in Dover, and there's going to be a presentation on arts and economic prosperity in New Hampshire. What things are being done, what can be done. And I'd also like to say that I had the pleasure of attending some of the UNH undergraduate research conference, where there were some incredible presentations by the undergraduates at the university. And I was also able to attend some of the Holloway Prize event that they had, where there were 5 finalists for the Holloway Prize were at the business school. Very entrepreneurial groups competing for a prize that they've been doing for a number of years now, and it's really kind of brilliant what they're doing. And it sure would be nice if these entrepreneurs that could get their businesses off the ground would be able to stay in Durham and live here and have their companies run here. So I hope that's something that they would be able to do and stay in Durham. Very innovative. And speaking of UNH and the innovation and the achievement, congratulations to all those graduates from this past Saturday graduated. I think it's something we're very proud of, and our next generation, and good luck to them all.
Great. Councilor Burton.
Yeah, the university has always had a very good small business entrepreneurial bent to it. I attended the meeting of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission last week, and we had a long discussion about zoning and housing, because they're working on that with every town, and it's the same dilemma all over the region. But we also talked about transportation, and I tried to tie the two together, remembering that every morning at 6 a.m. my father got on a trolley car and out in the outskirts of Middlesex County and went into Boston. And I mentioned that we should start thinking about planning our transportation around expanding it out into places where the markets aren't quite so expensive. I noticed that the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is starting their own bus service now to get their employees in. But clearly it's an issue that's not going to, the market's going to be there. And so we're going to talk more about how that would work, because we do a lot of talk about east-west, or necessarily spokes that come out. The other thing that concerned me was they by law, the SRPC has to produce an economic development plan for our service area, which is the 20-something towns. And it's pretty good. It's on their website. But I got very concerned about a piece of it on education and training, because they cited 6 occupations that we're going to be short, way short. And the only thing they talked about in education was UNH. And as a president of 2 community colleges, I really found that annoying, because when I was in Massachusetts, we designed the economic development around the community colleges. There's 15 community colleges, 200,000 students, stackable credentials, all of that stuff, when I was community college president. But there was no mention. I also sent it to the president of the chancellor of the community college system and to the president at Great Bay. I said, you should really get into this, because they do some wonderful programming. And that really is a key part of our development, because those are students who don't go to UNH and leave and go home, because a third of the UNH students live out of state. But the community colleges serve students that are here, and they back and revisit that piece. And I think it's partly because New Hampshire's community colleges grew out of technical high schools, and whereas the colleges in Massachusetts were started by the big 4-year schools because they were concerned about opportunity. So they were designed as transfer schools. And I had 13,000 students, half of them were in liberal arts transfer, but the rest were in nursing, healthcare, and so forth. Which is another concern. In the shortage section, they did not mention healthcare, and I know they're short nurses. So they're going back to the drawing board on that piece to make it in with the SRPC. As we recommend plans for transportation and other things. It's not unimportant. As we know, as I found out when we were trying to get an allocation for to fix the road on Durham Point, and so I'm keeping an eye on that. I did recommend that the chancellor, who used to be the vice president of student affairs at UNH, be made our keynote speaker to talk about this.
Isn't the community college system now folded into the University of New Hampshire?
No, and it better
There was a
not be.
proposal for that, I think for more of a cost reduction, wasn't it? I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah, I opposed that en masse. I'll tell you why. The community college, they're absolutely student-centered. The university is faculty-centered. They get their goodies from what faculty research and all the rest of it. They already choose the kids they want and reject the ones they don't want. The community colleges, a whole different field. And I used to be dean at Salem State, and I was assistant dean here, and I know what that's like. And it's a whole different field where the focus is absolutely on the students. And I think the states that have done it, Connecticut tried it and it didn't work because of that.
You started by saying there were 6 jobs that we are short
Yes.
in. What were those 6?
Well, one that struck my attention was truck drivers. They're short truck drivers. Now, I think there's only one CDL, commercial driver's license program, and that was one of them. But the big one is technicians, electronic technicians, people who run computers. You don't have to have a 4-year degree to do that. I gave up my office because the EVs now have sparked a whole new interest in electrical tech engineering because of the licensing. You have to have an electrician's license to work on them. And so that's a degree. And there were some, well, I know there's some in healthcare. I tried to find that list, James, that's before I came, and I didn't. But they were clearly programs that I had when I was in the community college, and they don't need a 4-year degree to be trained.
And I actually spent quite a bit of time going to the Thompson School, but my understanding is they pretty much shut down an awful lot of that.
Yeah, well, that was...
But I keep running into foresters who, that's where they went. And there are an awful lot of people around, landscapers and foresters, who came out of the Thompson School.
The problem with the Thompson School is the university wouldn't accept the transfer, didn't get the degree he wanted. I heard about that many times. Fortunately, his daughter graduated from here, and that was fine. But no, that's... I loved it. I mean, I had 5,000 minority new immigrant students. It's so satisfying to see students who've been written off come in to that and succeed. I mean, their average age 26, 27.
Well, in my experience with community colleges in the Midwest was that they're very focused on teaching the skills that get you a job, as opposed to universities which are teaching you the skills to get into graduate school.
That's an apt analogy. By the way, about half of the community colleges have dropped the name community out because then it avoids the punchline effect. But also, the only reason it's in there is because in Ohio, where they started, the communities actually funded them. And so all of California, there's about 105 California schools I used to work with that are now just Sierra College or, whatever. And it confuses people because people like to think. They like to put people in boxes. And I suggested this in New Hampshire, and it didn't get very far. But I also suggested, as we were running programs, 4-year programs on our campus in Danvers in healthcare. And we had a big health stigma that hopefully do something about that.
Yeah, Councilor.
On the subject of transportation, several years ago, Wildcat Transit ran a route to Rochester by way of the Lee Traffic Circle. which at the time was apparently not successful, was dropped. Is that the sort of transportation route that they're talking about?
I think they will. This has just come up. That instead of focusing on zoning in towns that are having dilemmas, why not look at how people get to work and where they come from and how we can get them here.
Yeah, there's a value to both approaches.
There is a value, and nothing solves it. But there's about 27 commissioners now. It's really a good discussion. There are people from all over the towns send council people. The state transportation people were sitting there too, listening to this. And so I think there's going to be this is a draft plan, and it'll be redrafted, and I think it's going to be more complete.
Councilor Lund?
Yes, the Energy Committee met on May 7th. We finalized plans for the June 2nd. We discussed the final version of an EV survey that our sustainability fellow Aaron Walsh has been developing. And we also had further discussions on the proposed ordinance changes for requiring more EV charging stations in town. That's all.
Councilor Ford?
First thing is, I'd like to say that my grandson attends. The Land Stewardship Subcommittee met on May 8th, and there are a couple of things there that I think might interest them. Council, and in particular, Councilor Burton. Rich Rain was there and gave a presentation on what's going on at Wagon Hill. And the City of Portsmouth Waterline Phase 1, which is the installation of the two valves, one on either side of Little Bay, is proceeding and should be complete next month. The temporary, hopefully that will be within the next 2 years, but it would be expensive and disruptive to take it all out and then rebuild it all again. And then, a year later. So that's intended to stay. Also, the water main that runs through Wagon Hill Farm is going to be tapped with a 6-inch line to feed the Bickford Chesley house as part of the renovations there. That will allow them to have potable water as well as fire protection. And the Wagon Hill Farm Shoreline Phase 2 improvements will probably get underway in 2025. Permitting is underway. You might recall that we approved funding for that recently here on the council. The land still continuing their collaboration with the Conservation Commission to form an education residents about how to connect with the natural environment and how to steward the natural environment. I think that's all. Their next meeting is scheduled for June 12th at 8:30 right here.
Great, thank you.
I was looking at, because I'm out there every day, and we dog walkers have already created a trail next to the yellow brick road out there, that it might not be a bad idea just to leave that the way it is, because it's already wrecked that area, and I'd rather just leave that road in if they're going to use it again than have to go through this again, because it's out of sight and it's out of mind and it's in there, and why not just leave it there and for maintenance of the facility, and then we won't have to worry about going through this whole thing again. You're not?
No, because
they got asphalt in it?
They're expensive. I mean, they'd have to replace them. So, but they'll leave them there for the time being, and then they'll take them out, and the land will restore itself very, very quickly because they do very little damage when they put that up. So
Boy, have you been out there to see what?
I most certainly have.
It looks like a lot of damage. You've got a permit to, they could just leave that there and that'll give them a way to get into the site. The problem was the confluence, the driveway that we wanted to avoid, push them out of the way.
Well, yeah, you want to keep construction
But yeah.
separated from the public.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, the Agricultural Commission has not officially met recently, but they did have a focus group on the same day as our council meeting on 13 May, in which they had 6 members of the public get surveyed and questioned and had a dialogue about their potential support for expanding local consumption and growing within the town, to see what the appetite would be, what the considerations would be, and what constraints, restraints need to be put on that if it would get pursued. That due out, or that output will be refined over the course of the next meeting for 10 June, and it will be compiled into and a capability of finding a wide variety of local consumption tactics, whether it's through independent gardening and community garden type stuff, or an agricultural co-op where folks go in together and on one individual's land and start rotating crops. So this is all still within the preliminary phase. No funds or anything have been spent, but they are thinking about pursuing that. Besides that, I've talked 10 June already. And then, of course, Farm Day, August 17th. I'm going to keep bringing it up every 2 weeks. If you have any ideas on what you'd like to see, or if you could help support them, please reach out to Teresa Walker. It's a good event. It's a good time to meet local folks and get some, yes ma'am.
And a sugar shack.
All right, anything else? Okay. Administrator Selly.
Okay, I've got a list for you. Let's see. First, tomorrow afternoon, Assessor Jim Rice and I will head to Concord, where we and representatives of 18 other towns and cities will enter into a required mediation with Eversource regarding abatement appeals that date back to 2017, 18, and 19. For Durham, it's only 18 and 19. And so this is a court-required process as part of the abatement process Eversource is going through. And so I'll let you know how that plays out. We did budget monies as part of our overlay for this known abatement issue. So keep you up to date.
Quick question, if I may. What is that range anticipated of being?
Our expectation was a worst-case scenario was somewhere around $350,000 or $360,000.
That's already well within the general fund?
It is. Cool. Yeah.
That figure includes interest?
Yes. My understanding is it does. Commencement was this past weekend, and unlike years ago where there was one large, really large event which locked down the downtown for hours, UNH has transitioned to commencement over 3 days where there are several events each day. And this year, significant issues, the traffic flowed pretty well. The only report I had was our police officers who were on those special details heading. But my understanding was it went very well, so that's positive.
Yeah, I think it did too. Usually we see all kinds of traffic over our way. It was like nothing was going on.
Yeah.
They didn't do the buses.
Didn't see
right?
anything.
Yeah. Those buses used to come down, right?
Yeah. So in our conversations with the University of New Hampshire on a variety of issues, one has to do with a micromobility device. If you remember back in 2019, we were anticipating that major companies like Lime or Bird were poised to drop 200, 300, 400 scooters in Durham for rent. And so we thought that was the trend, and we developed an ordinance that would regulate those kinds of devices at the time. We adopted it in February of 2020. And what actually has happened in Durham is not that at all. We haven't had any big companies come to Durham. Instead, it's lots of individuals who are purchasing their own unique, all very different devices. And so we think it makes sense to revisit our ordinance just to see whether it needs to be updated in some way based upon actual experience. And in addition, the University of New Hampshire is working on their own policy dealing with these devices for campus. And one of the challenges that these devices have is they use lithium batteries, and these lithium batteries, if they malfunction, cause very significant fire issues. And so the university is thinking through campus and where they're not. So UNH, for instance, doesn't want these devices in their academic buildings, in their administrative buildings, because they end up blocking stairwells, blocking doors, and people start to plug them in, and it creates issues. And they're also trying to create parameters around. So that's all in play, and we're going to spend some time trying to align the university's policies with Durham's ordinance. And one quirky aspect of this is that, the sidewalks that run along Durham streets are sidewalks for the purposes of our ordinance, but it's confusing to students who are able right now to ride their devices across the multi-use paths that crisscross the campus. Those are not sidewalks, those are multi-use paths. So we all understand that as the administrators, but the students don't see the difference. And so that's something we need to think through a little bit as well. Now, another new technology that the university has an interest in exploring and potentially bringing to Durham is something I actually saw at the University of Arizona when we were touring that campus with our daughter this past Thanksgiving. And those are little micro mobility robots that zoom along the sidewalks and deliver food to someone's door. Right. And these have cameras on them, and there's GPS assigned. They drive 3 or 4 miles per hour. You place your order with DoorDash or some similar kind of an app, and in some period of time, the little robot comes to your dormitory or your apartment. You're then texted a code where you can go down and access whatever, the food you ordered. And we saw this happening live in Arizona, which was interesting. So UNH is interested in potentially bringing this kind of technology to campus to use, as I understand it, on campus, but that would involve using Durham sidewalks to get to some of the buildings. And so we also need to take some time to evaluate how that kind of technology, which none of us had envisioned in 2019 at all, how that falls within the boundaries of our existing ordinance that only envision human riders, not...
They use those robots at Riverwoods to deliver the food to the table and take it back, and they talk to them. They're all named, and they call them over.
So
and they remember who ordered what, and now they did the cheeseburger to the right person.
So you really saw these in Tucson?
Yes, I did. They were all over the place, and we saw one come to residence hall, and a young woman come out with a code and get her sandwich.
Did you see the town administrator robot they have out there?
I'm sure it's a lot faster than me. That's great.
I saw a fleet of those in Madison, Wisconsin a couple of years ago.
Yes. So the university, the company they're looking at is called Starship. So I was looking up these humanless auto micromobility devices at Starship Company. I was like, that's it, like beam me up, Scotty, whatever. Just like crazy.
Are you going to look at your drone regulations as well?
Delivery by air.
Wow.
Yeah, it may be
that's
coming.
probably
It may
where
be
they're-
coming.
They are.
All right, the next topic is another UNH collaboration, so I'll try to be really succinct. So 23, 24 years ago, we were having problems down at the Durham UNH train station. Next to the station is the platform where you wait for the train, and if you look straight across the tracks from the platform, you'll see 7 or 8 advertising murals that are there. They're advertising panels. And before those were installed, we had a real problem with graffiti in that location. And it's a proud permission from Amtrak and the rail company to do it. You have to hire flaggers to make sure the tracks are safe while a repairman goes and paints over the area. And then we'd have it happen again. So on a trip to England, while riding the London Underground, I noticed years ago 20-plus years ago that none of the advertisements had graffiti on them. And I thought, hey, maybe we could do something like that in Durham. And long story short, we did. And we advertised them with the Friday updates. It was first come, first serve. And so the panels you see there are from companies, most of which are no longer in Durham, which have been up ever since. It was very low cost, low stress. But it's time to update that whole panel set. The university was offered an opportunity at the time to have some panels. They took advantage of that, and their panels are to work on updating the panel set. There's been transition in that sort of the last couple of years. And the idea now is not to make them advertising panels for like downtown businesses, but rather panels that highlight aspects of UNH and Durham to get you downtown, to get you out to Wagon Hill Farm or to our lands, and to show some of that on the campus. And murals that can be timeless that we can put up and that won't ideally go out of date. So, on it. So stay tuned, but I'm optimistic that we'll be able to refresh those panels in the fairly near future. So,
Who's working on it over there? Is it facilities or planning?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
Even the name of the person, it's escaping me at the moment. I'm sorry. But it's someone who deals with like public relations and advertising and stuff like that. That's the group that was ultimately tasked with working on it, I think. So, and I sent them a bunch of photos of stuff, and they've got much better photographers, and they were going to see what they could find too. So. A lot of conversation over the last week, and I sent the council some correspondence regarding Senate Bill 527, which has had an amendment added onto it, which would revive House Bill 1281, which was intended to strike down Durham's no more than 3 unrelated zoning provision. And so I had an opportunity to speak with Durham Representative Al Howland this weekend at length, and then we corresponded quite a lot. And we're hopeful that a coalition may be in formation within the House that can kill this particular measure. So we'll see how that plays out. The big day is Thursday, and Al is going to keep me up to date and vice versa. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. We have several lease agreements with cellular carriers. One such carrier is located at the Foss Farm water tank, and we're currently working with that carrier, Dish. It would be a new carrier, in fact, to locate a cellular node there. And so we're going back and forth with language on a long-term lease agreement, what the annual lease rate would be, and an inflation clause as well. And there's another site, which is the monopole at the transfer station that currently is occupied by T-Mobile, and they too are extending their lease with us. So we're doing the same thing with them. So we're working that through with both our insurance carrier and legal counsel. The cellular providers send you, by default, a proposal that, in essence, gives them all the protection and the municipality no protection. And we're making sure it's even and appropriate for the town and the town's interests.
Like our phone agreements.
Week, on either Wednesday or Thursday, I've been and the city manager in Portsmouth to be present and why local government is important and why you should get involved. Form of government, I'll talk about the town council form of government, and Karen Kennard in Portsmouth will talk about the city council form of government. So that should be interesting. That's coming right up. We have a couple of odd requests. Sometimes strange things come in. So one is there's a section, I'm not going to bring the landowner's name into it because it's more just for your general update, but in the 9th there was a portion of Durham Point Road where apparently the town was interested in straightening it out, straightening the profile of the road and eliminating a deep curve. And so we worked with the private landowner at the time to come up with an agreement where the landowner provided the town permission to relocate the road, to use their land, and there was going to be a swap of land as part of this. And once the road was realigned, Durham was supposed to go in and survey the road. It was supposed to be done per a plan. And once the survey was done, we were then going to finalize and monument like the boundaries. So the town, like so many things, we made the agreement, we relocated the road, and for what happened. And there's no attachment A in any of our files that shows what those boundaries were supposed to be. So we don't actually know what the road is like now. And the landowner also, or the heirs to the landowner, do not have that attachment either. So Durham, per that original agreement, will need to hire a surveyor to now formally document where the boundaries of the road are, and then we'll have to probably do a boundary line adjustment with the landowner to formalize exactly where the boundary is along Durham Point Road. But it's sort of an oddity. And then on the same parcel, this is a large parcel that's been owned by the same family for decades. The family is selling this parcel, and across the parcel runs a private drive which services 3 lots that are on the bay. And one of the 3 lots is Durham's. It is a conservation parcel that the town acquired, again, decades ago, that we use for nothing other than it's just conservation. So there's a question about who is responsible for maintaining the access road to the 3 lots down by the water. And it's a little unclear as far as I can tell reading the information. So we're going to have to get some guidance from our legal counsel. We've received a communication from one of the landowners who is down by the water who wants to make sure that the roadway is maintained per their deed with one of the original owners who I think subdivided the area many years ago. So that's another interesting topic that we're slowly working through. We just got notified about this.
Do we ever access that parcel for any reason, other than it just sits there?
As far as I know, no.
Okay.
I think it's a parcel we would want to have access to if we needed to, but I don't believe we use it for anything.
You do have access to the deed?
Yes, we do.
And the property is on the bay?
Yes.
Any trails on the property?
I don't believe so. I don't think so.
Assuming the deed would describe the common driveway and the maintenance responsibility.
It's a question for me of who's responsible. The deed speaks to the heirs, the heirs of that family. It doesn't work through these issues before it goes on the market. So that's what's happening now, is like due diligence to resolve outstanding issues. So
Get blocked to the towns?
yes. So these are both topics that have just come to my attention in the last week and a half, and we haven't really had much time to pursue, but I'm just letting you know. All right. Let's see. Home prices are still on the rise in Durham. He said they're going up about, I think, 1.2% a month in Durham. So there are apparently more properties coming up on the market now, which is positive. But again, the interest has been very strong. Next, I did get a query this past week from a landowner who is also a property owner who also owns and operates apartments. And that individual had some concerns about the change to the annual bulky waste pickup, and specifically when they could bring things from their apartments that are student occupied to the transfer station. They're frustrated on one hand that they can't do it on the normal days the facility's open, Tuesdays and Saturdays. Instead, we've got special landlord days that we've identified, and that was an inconvenience for them. But also that they're not apparently getting a free bulky waste coupon for each apartment as a homeowner would. So that's a topic I need to check on. So I sort of raises, this is like the only expression of concern we've gotten about our change at eliminating the bulky waste pickup. So it's one so far.
So would it be normal for renters as well as homeowners to get a bulky waste coupon if they, would those be expected to go to the landlord?
So I have an appointment with Rain tomorrow about this to learn more. So I don't know the answer to that question off the top.
ADUs.
I think if they're, as long as they're not rentals, I just don't know. I don't know the answer. It's a great question.
It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't know
a
the
mini
question.
apartment.
It is. It's like a mini
A
apartment.
mini,
Right. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll ask. It's a good question.
well,
Yeah.
On my walk here tonight, I saw at Davis Court a 30 cubic yard container of bulky waste.
Yeah.
Some of it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's hard to change because there were so many things that used to sit at the curb, and now they are, for the most part, getting thrown out.
Yep.
It was sort of sad. I had my eye on a few things,
We had different new topic. We had a condition of concern regarding the at Jackson's Landing. The Great Bay Rowing has a hoop tent, sort of a greenish tent, where they keep some of their shells. And there was a concern that we received that the cover was torn, the front and the back flap. So I went down to take a look, and it is torn, flapping in the breeze. And so I've reached out to get contact information for Great Bay Rowing, and we'll be following up with their director in the next few days. And then I think Councilor Friedman might have noted, but I can't remember for sure, the Parks and Rec Committee is working on with the UNH team on doing a survey of our parks, particularly Jackson's Lake. So that's positive. I think I had a chance to look at it. It looked pretty good. Let me see. We also received an anecdotal email that I thought was really positive. A woman, well, so let's see. Councilor Lund reported that the Energy Committee is working on an electric drive day where they'll have demonstration electric vehicles available for the public to use. They're partnering with Tideline across the street. And one of the participants is a woman who owns apparently a Ford Mustang E electric vehicle. And that individual noted that they chose ultimately to buy that electric vehicle because they had attended a past electric drive event we had put on, and it inspired them to pull the plug. So that was positive. And
Wasn't that your wife?
So it wasn't my wife, I didn't think. She did. She didn't tell me. But she does on Mach-E.
right, and so the last item is, it's going to sound a little scary at first, but I'm just like letting you know it was adopted under the Obama administration. There's a requirement for employers to provide what's called a 1090 form to employees, which basically outlines the type of insurance that they receive, the value of the insurance, who was insured, for the individual taxpayer to use as part of their own return if it's relevant. And so the town of Durham does complete that every year. We have been completing that every year. And for the year 2000, in early 2001, we not only provided those forms to our employees, but we also are required to provide a filing to the IRS, which at the time was pre-electronic filing. So the business office sent the filing in by U.S. mail, not certified, just regular U.S. mail as they had for years. And apparently a year or more went by, and we learned from the IRS that they didn't receive that form, and that was a problem. And we apparently the business office submitted it a second time by mail. Again, it was still pre-electronic filing. So 2 subsequent efforts have been made to file the form. The last was that. But because this dates back to the 2000 year, we now on paper have fines in excess of $100,000 against like $107,000. So our Deb Alstrom from the business office spent a good half a day on the phone with the IRS, and it's highly bureaucratic, and finally got to someone who she thought could resolve the issue, but because the fine is over $100,000, that person was no longer able to talk with us. It has to be escalated to the next level. And so we have reached out to a legal counsel to have someone follow up with the IRS because we're concerned it's gone on too long and the amount has gone too high. And the business office felt that this would easily be resolved, and it hasn't been. And when it was clear it was not being resolved, they came in a week and a half ago to update me on what was going on. So this is more or less news, but that's the news.
They don't negotiate.
So
They
someone's-
rage and arrive in your office with guns.
Well, they said we may hear from one of their agents. That's what they said. And it's not as though taxes were not withheld or taxes weren't paid. There are no taxes due. This is just like a filing
Paperwork.
to demonstrate we did it, and we did do it. But the employees all have the forms, but, so we'll work through it.
It's frustrating.
So if you wonder what I do all week, this
Yeah, we don't.
Thank you.
Lapse in the year 2005.
All right. Is there
That's all,
anything,
thank
any other questions for Todd? Okay. All right, so as far as I know, there's no new business. And so we'll continue our discussion of possible adoption of our draft FY 2024-25 Town Council goals. So in the packet, you have some work that Todd did, pulling together our comments from the last meeting, and then leaving those goals that we didn't take on at our last meeting for us to look at tonight.
Now, it says the changes from 5-6 were made, and is that essentially, they're now been removed, edited down, and this is the result?
Yes, I thought about including and it just got so
Busy.
complicated,
Yeah.
so I just said it's
Okay.
gone, and so.
That wasn't
so I-
really
yeah.
clear.
I tried my hardest to reflect what I thought you said, but I can't guarantee I got it right, so please look at it carefully.
All right. Yeah, so we can just continue that same process, is all right with everyone? I'll just read them out, we'll be like, yay, nay, okay. We're in number 5, pursue long-term social resiliency and quality of life in Durham, intense families and other identified stakeholders by offering a wide variety of active and passive parks and recreation and library opportunities, programming, events, facilities, and public-facing educational information celebrating the rich tapestry of Durham history. So A, we have strive to be inclusive of non-binary gender options within overall town operations.
I would suggest that maybe we just say strive to be inclusive of all gender options within overall town operations.
That would work too.
I don't know enough about the differences to understand the nuance.
Well, yeah.
I don't.
Well, technically, you don't have to be inclusive with just gender options, it's the non-binary.
Sure.
I mean, you're limiting the group of townspeople. And so I would tend to concur that the non-binary is not necessary.
Make it explicit, then it's easy to forget that those exist.
Well, it is explicit. It says all gender options.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the gender options? So it would be included? This sounds exclusive to me, the way it's written, that's all.
And I think if we remember that these are our goals, and if we understand them, and the administrator understands them, then
Okay. yeah.
either language is probably appropriate.
Then maybe all would work if we all understand that that means
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we're trying to be all-inclusive.
right.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's
How
just-
else do you say it?
How else do you say it is right? It says inclusive.
I
but-
think having the standalone where we're adding a specific demarcation point to say, hey, are we adding this in the planning? Are we adding this in the considerations phase before execution? I think that's very pertinent, so.
That was a good example, just in terms of talking about the rink earlier. So that's the stuff that we're having to try and keep in our brains that some of us aren't
foreign.
used to doing.
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm hearing that all
I'd
would be
agree with
preferable
that
to
if that's what
non-binary?
people
I
feel better
am
about.
supportive either way.
Okay,
I think all works.
all right. Okay, and then Todd kindly rewrote my attempt to talk about Durham's neighborhoods. B, continue to protect and defend the integrity of Durham's neighborhoods surrounding the UNH campus through mediation, unruly social gatherings, and other behaviors that diminish the quality of life for residents.
The legislation passes removing no more than 3. Is there any other way to get at that issue?
Well, you'll see a little later in the goals under let me see, 7D, that we do call out definition of family and occupancy limitations. So this is envisioning that one way or another, it makes good sense to look at these two issues as a town. So I guess that would be my response. I think no matter what, I think it's time to look at them.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is whether it's 3 people in the dwelling or 4, if you're focusing on noise and behavior, you have bad behavior with 3 people just as much as you have it with 4. I would assume that we would actually have to really emphasize and focus on the disturbances within the neighborhoods, whether it's, faculty or the drunk that lives next to me, where I'm not right next to UNH. So I think the important part is that we're focusing on on those items, noise, trash, people, or more.
Right. And also it need not be student occupied to be,
Exactly.
because it's student occupied
True.
doesn't mean that it is a problem.
That's right.
The way this is written, though, it looks like it specifically is talking about the neighborhoods near downtown next to UNH.
Yeah, I'm
And you're
just saying
talking
if you-
about other
yeah.
neighborhoods, of which there are many,
Yeah.
that don't touch UNH.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to be as narrow as saying just the downtown next to UNH, because these other issues.
I think this is where the issues mostly occur, though, which is exactly the reason for the 3 non-related
Yeah.
rule.
My thoughts on this are, I have concerns that folks will use this to obstruct any development of housing in general, because they'll tie back to, well, this isn't protecting the integrity of Durham. This is to reassure, or I assume is to reassure residents that the town council takes seriously the and the lifestyles. But I think that is something that Durham does a very good job in normal operating procedure, and would be kind of a perpetual enduring task already. And then adding this in here, I think, doesn't particularly give ammunition in support of, expanding the beauty of Durham and housing for all. It kind of adds ammunition for those that would be in opposition to. And so I don't know if this council or this particular metric adds to the accomplishments or progress of Durham. Excuse me.
Yes.
But they would have.
I just mean this situation exists, right? The difference in lifestyle.
No, I mean,
exists.
the noise ordinance, trash ordinance, those exist.
Right, but it's not a town council goal to pay attention.
But we already have all those measures, so to me, it's an ongoing, not necessarily something that I would consider a goal.
Which is how it starts. It says continue to defend.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I put in my administration of spending on, the different bills, 1281 and 527, and become more desirable to investors than to families.
I was just going to note that years ago, 15 years ago, they ultimately were very successful. Like, it took many years, but we sort of nipped the problem in the bud, so to speak. So we no longer have a room full of angry residents from, different neighborhoods. And so that goal was consolidated into the 5, which the words pursue long-term social resiliency and quality of life in Durham. The quality of life in Durham was meant to encapsulate that was
All
B.
these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, so when I read 5, I see it already, but not everyone sees it, because not everyone lived through that. So,
I mean, it doesn't need necessarily.
I think that with the risk from the legislator, that it's something that we need to keep in. That there are scenarios under which we would have to rethink how we do this.
Yeah, but we would do that.
So it's just a question of whether we highlight it as 5B or not include it, I guess.
I wouldn't be opposed to just eliminating.
I feel the same.
Shall we eliminate it, since we know, we're all on the same page, and we're in the midst of it now,
Yeah.
so it's safe to eliminate it, absolutely. Does that sound,
We have it as a tool still, all the ordinances about
Right.
noise and trash.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
okay,
Right, and what the legislature is doing doesn't change any of those things. It only eliminates our current tool for addressing overcapacity.
But we're going to deal with that anyway if that
Yep.
happens, if that
So-
occurs.
let's eliminate B,
Agree.
Agreed.
okay.
Once you eliminate a B, does the A get rolled into the main paragraph, or how does that work?
If there's an A, there has to be at least a B.
So maybe
Well, I think
becomes part of
it's
the-
focusing on the one brand-new
Yes,
thing that can progress us differently.
I agree.
So
Okay.
I say A's good, and let's move
Yeah, we
on.
can put a B in there.
All right.
You gotta wait till the
Find
pages
the
are-
tab.
Anything else that somebody thinks should be in 5 that we didn't bring up before? Otherwise, we'll move on. All right. 6, continue cooperative and collaborative efforts with UNH to enhance mutual intellectual, cultural, environmental, social, and economic benefits associated with hosting New Hampshire's flagships. All right, so the first is A, encourage the UNH administration to engage and work with Durham's administrators and local residents.
I'm not sure why we have that in there. It's something that's ongoing that Todd does constantly with UNH.
I think this specific call out
I'm not
was
sure
in
why
regards
this
to
was-
the service cuts that happened recently. I believe this originated with Counselor Friedrichs.
What service cuts?
They closed
The
the
museum.
museum and some other,
Museum.
yeah,
Right.
and that was unilateral, but I think that's where that kind of comes from, that topic comes from.
now the dairy bar.
Yeah, right, for the summer.
For the summer.
Thank God we
I
got
mean, which is
one
fair
in.
to have that coordination desired, but if there's already a planned touch point, I think it's imperative just to emphasize that that's occurring. Maybe not as a call out, but I don't know. This isn't my amendment, so I don't.
Well, I would say that either A or E, but I don't think we need.
Could be composited to have a little more concise language, but I love the idea behind all of them because it specifically identifies the relationships that we're trying to cultivate for the purposes that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, B and C could definitely be combined and then kind of reduced in all. We don't have to give every example all the way through, but those two are, like you said, they're very similar.
Little standouts, but the identification of that is important.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense to merge B and C.
It's just a matter of having to get all the wording out of that, so I don't know, maybe
I can work on that.
can you work on that? That would be great.
We just say what we want. Todd has to make it happen.
Well, he'll get it.
I was trying to be respectful of what all of.
No, it's great.
No,
It's
it
great.
is, there's a lot of words there.
These are,
that don't-
it's not easy to be nitpicked on the formatting and stuff, though.
All right, so we'll leave A, B, and C to be reworked by Todd. All right. Endeavor to establish Durham as an epicenter of off-campus volunteerism and research by UNH students, faculty, and staff.
I don't know where that came from, but I think that's awesome.
And I think some of that, I feel like a lot of that sort of is happening in terms of
Well, I mean, it's just
students that are
logical.
involved
Yeah.
in what's going on in town.
Maybe it's an intention to highlight it and expand access, and I don't know.
Right. And also with students, most of them are in town.
Get involved by seeing others. Spitball.
Yeah, it's,
Definitely.
I see that a lot of that's happening already, but if we want to promote it further, yeah. I'm thinking of the group that was working out at Spruce Hole, looking at, it was a whole class that was
Awesome.
working out there. and Erin Hale appealing to different committees and commissions, groups for sustainability projects that students could work on for their capstones, and like IMAC had this
I was
year.
going to say IMAC had that.
Or interns. IMAC had an intern who just wasn't paid anything. She just wanted to learn more about town government, so she
Awesome.
volunteered for IMAC, and we worked on getting word out to the public. So
Right, so.
it's just expanding on what's happening.
Right, all right. And so is this distinct from the fellow program that we have?
I think so, because the other, just promoting other use of.
Right, so I
town.
think that our outgoing sustainability fellow is actually based in Indiana, not in Durham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's through the UNH Sustainability Fellowship Program, but they open it up to the country and people from elsewhere apply. But our fellow for the coming year is going to be a graduate student at UNH. She's a current graduate, undergraduate. She's going to be starting her graduate degree.
Yeah.
This may also be an opportunity for, did I cut somebody off?
No, go ahead.
This may be an opportunity also to potentially add more involved with McGregor and maybe even taking on internships with the fire department and the police department as the folks get into those careers.
Yeah.
You know, just as you're prioritizing the advertisement of it.
Yeah. Okay. And E, strive to keep town informed in a timely and meaningful way of decisions that may have positive or negative implications off campus in Durham.
Seems like we're telling UNH to do something there, and I'm not sure that's in our
Yeah, it's really
control.
UNH owns that more than we
Right.
can.
I think your efforts are there, and this E is probably not, in my mind, necessary and
I agree.
not in our control.
Yeah, no, it's,
I already crossed it.
it's basically on UNH to let us know what's going on, and if they choose to tell us nothing, then there
Yeah.
isn't much we can do about it.
Exactly.
I think A kind of encapsulates
Yes,
it.
exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Yep, we don't need E. Okay. Move on to 7. All right. Leverage town committees and subplans to align with the broader goals of the council and encourage them to collaborate with each other and communicate as necessary with the community at large. All right, I'll read A. I almost feel like A needs to be bulleted instead of written the way it is, but maybe that's just become familiar with and develop programming/action steps as appropriate to prompt widespread community involvement in Durham's climate action plan, the development of a full range of housing types, workforce, seniors, missing middle, enabling a larger portion of Durham's workforce to live in town, the expansion of downtown business development, and a complete streets approach to transportation planning.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's
I mean,
big.
I look at it, I think it's
Bulleted would be
bulleted,
clearer.
we're all strung together, and I was like, no, they don't,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe bulleting?
Not to be lukewarmly received, but I think it is important to get those plans and actions kind of tied together. And I know it's ongoing, but it is a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think I would bear, and not all of it is closely related.
Right, right. So we'll leave it, but we'll bullet?
I think Eric's saying he'd rather see those broken out as like a separate B and E and C. Am I misunderstanding that?
Is,
I think makes sense for those to be broken up in several bullets at the same level as what we now have for A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
okay, so really just spread them all out,
Yeah.
break them out. Sounds fine.
I've got that autocorrect on.
Okay. B, establish a new monthly or weekly effort that highlights the contributions of local elected and appointed officials with local committees to activeness of civic participation.
Now this is mine, I need to own this. I put this one in there, but I haven't thought up how that would be,
Yeah, like-
personnel-wise, that would be delivered.
And who owns it? Like, who
Yep.
owns the responsibility?
Yep. I think this is one of those things where I'm trying to find ways to make it flashy and attractive to get involved and volunteer for commissions or on an individual, because it means, I mean, it's basically being an investigative reporter for you know, a couple days of the week.
Can we say periodic instead of weekly and monthly?
I would approve that, that'd be cool.
Especially in the summer.
I agree with periodic. That it occurs to me that Friday updates would be the appropriate vehicle for getting this message out.
And some of this message gets out through there now.
Yeah.
So-
Well, for a while, Michael Barrett did a couple of pieces, but
Michael Barron does it as time permits, as the schedule permits. And so, for example, our now former assessor, that was someone we were going to do a write-up on, but he left very quickly, so it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so, but we've focused on volunteers too, but this sort of give us some focus on that. And we might also reach out to like the committee chairs to say, hey,
That would be cool.
if you see something,
Thinking about
someone doing
decentralizing
something,
as
let
much as
us
possible,
know.
for sure, yeah.
Right. I mean, and do we want to also include key town employees in this?
It depends on if you have
Anybody?
a prize for it. If it's just free, I guess you could, but if you wanted to give like a $50 coupon or something like that, or a $50 gift certificate, I don't know. I'm just happy it's in the goals.
Is this something we could link with like UNH journalism students or something, some way we could,
They eliminated.
like the journalism program, okay, forget that.
I mean, they would need the information.
Right. But
You got to catch somebody doing something good, and you have to kind of be on the ground to do that.
Yeah. So this is ultimately belongs to the
Committee chairs.
committee, commission, board chairs,
Town council
town council.
can participate in that. I mean,
Yeah,
For
sure.
sure.
it's essentially finding somebody who needs to be called out.
Yeah. And that could be as simple as like someone joined the board, this is their background, they did
Yeah.
these awesome things, we're so happy to have them.
Yeah. And we have,
And we have representation on most of our boards,
boards, yeah.
commissions, and committees. It could be something that,
I love that.
and maybe you're not the writer, but you're the one who's
Soliciting.
is soliciting, or,
yes.
so,
It can be the belly button, that's easy.
so let's see
I mean,
if we
pulling
can't
teeth
own
is
it.
easy sometimes, depending on how much Novocaine you got.
I'll take it for it.
So shall we try owning it, town council? Behind the,
That'd be great.
with, if we need, we don't have to do it ourselves, but just, we're going to be the ones watching for those opportunities.
Right.
Okay.
I think jointly with the committee chairs.
Okay. C, encourage cross-committee board commission communication through increased mutual attendance in sessions and encouraging cross-committee collaboration.
And this one could be as minimal as us making sure we try to attend one additional meeting on Zoom in addition to our requirements of whatever commission we're already stationed on.
Is that really necessary? I mean,
We already have somebody
I'm valuable, it's valuable to me to hear from the other members here of what goes on in their committee. And if I were to just drop into one meeting, I don't know if I'd really, it would be that much for me to get out of that.
Some of those collaborations happen naturally. For instance, with the HDC is proposing an update to the historic district ordinance, which is basically the update of the definition of the historic district with the new tax map numbers. And we will of course need to collaborate with the planning board on that.
And certainly Parks and Rec has overlap with the land stewardship and are doing things together, even currently have a member on their committee on a more permanent basis, it seems.
The planning board, like the town council, has representatives to various other town committees.
Maybe that's what you're talking about? Maybe everybody should
It
have
was
like
meant,
cross?
so when I had it originally, it was 3 call-outs where it was school system, committees, and commissioners was the type of delineation there. I don't need to eat time up on this one.
Do we want to have it say, encourage cross-committee, board, commission communication, and collaboration,
I'm happy to strike it
or just strike it?
unless.
Take C out.
Yep. Because, I mean, there's going to be a C because we're going to drop another
Yeah,
five
I know, I just, but
bullets.
that's the one now.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
I
yeah,
would-
yeah.
Okay,
It's-
just
This
take-
is something that to some extent we're doing anyway, so.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
okay, so eliminate C, that's what I'm hearing, I think.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And D, update definition section of the zoning ordinance, the shoreline protection overlay district ordinance, revisit the sprinkler code, revisit the definition of family in the zoning ordinance, and occupancy.
Part of that, we just
just
did that
did.
tonight, so we
We did
could
it.
remove that.
So we can leave it there and say, we
Pat
did it.
yourself on this.
Or, yeah.
That's right. It was the council that did it.
Yeah, it's, as I said a little earlier, we're also working on updating the definitions of the historic district,
Right.
historic districts overlay district, or whatever exactly it's called.
So
So-
are we
so-
doing all these things all the time, and do we need it here? I guess
Right,
would be
these
my
questions.
question, because, like you said,
We're
you
doing
just
it.
added one, and boy, 2 months from now, somebody's going to say, hey, this is something we need to try and work on,
And
so.
if you're
Right, well,
gonna,
yeah,
if you're gonna leave this, you would probably want to say shoreline and wetland.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right,
It's
right.
not SPOD anymore.
Right, yeah, the parts about the zoning ordinance and the SPOD, those are ongoing projects. And I guess the goal here is to complete those, council, by next March. Would that be a fair statement?
I just look at these, and these were all initiated by those groups. At least
Yeah.
the zoning ordinance, the definitions, and the shore wetland, that came out of the Conservation Commission, which still has to go to the planning board before it comes to the town council, and
Right.
March might be an optimistic timeline, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure that, I would delete D. I mean, that's their charge, they're doing it. It's like the sprinkler ordinance, it's done. The definitions are almost done.
Yeah, I think we do have the touch base on that when
And
we
then
get
I
here on
know
the family portion,
there's,
but,
it's probably gonna be rolled out in segments, but there's a rewrite of the whole zoning ordinance coming.
correct, yeah.
right,
So, and that could take 2, 3, 5, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
It's
But then
not
the ones that we-
necessarily fast.
Yeah, and then the one that we had that we thought was the most important, we actually have in 3B in terms of the ordinance of full range of housing types by April 2025.
Right.
Yeah, so that's that one focus, but all those other ones, they just churn around at us all the time, the wetland,
Okay,
SPOD.
So eliminate D?
I would.
Good with me.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think they're all these things are in the works. And our B, we will keep.
Can I,
Yes.
We spent a lot of time talking about UNH, Consolidated School District.
there,
We just struck.
Yeah.
there was one, but we cut it.
Yeah.
We did,
Yeah, last time, yeah.
good for us.
That's why we needed it in different
Then why
colors.
didn't we cut the UNH one?
There is an awful lot in there with the UNH, and I know that you have to spend a lot of time, with that relationship, but
Yeah,
It's a lot
yeah,
there.
yeah. UNH is the dominant employer in town and the biggest landowner in town, so
And the
they're
Oyster
kind
River
of
School District is the biggest driver of our taxes.
That's right.
true.
But
But there's no,
the attendees of the Oyster River School District don't cause us many problems in the neighborhoods.
usually.
Well, in the
He
neighborhood.
lives in a neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he lives in a neighborhood.
This council doesn't directly have a say in
Right.
other than as voters in the school district budget,
Right,
so.
yeah.
And we don't have any say in UNH either, other than as voters in the state.
Add that to my roundtable discussion type stuff. That would be intriguing. The Oyster River School Board stuff.
That'd be
If
fine.
if you wanted, if that would be amenable to what you're trying to get at, while also,
I'm not really trying to get at anything
Yeah,
directly.
well, yeah, it's, yeah.
The school district, I don't need to do anymore.
Yeah. Al Howland was both a school board member.
So is Kenny Rotner? He did both also.
I was on.
Yeah.
all right, I can't do that,
Budget
but I can
committee.
sit in on it.
But I think that if it's something that appeals to you and you can report out to us things that you learn.
Sure,
that'd be
just have to
wonderful.
figure out what their schedule is.
Right, or alternatively, have routine reports from the Oyster Consolidated School District, the way we do from the UNH student representative.
Right. I mean, we do have the ones that we've had with.
Frequent occurrence. And the superintendent coming in to speak, correct?
Right. It wouldn't necessarily be, it might be,
You're in the
so,
middle.
yeah, it might be a student representative like it is with UNH.
So right now with the school district, we bring this to just give an update on the school, how the year's gone, statistics, things like that. And then we bring him back in February-ish, and he does a budget overview for us, budget presentation to talk about what that looks like. We were spoiled. We had two of our counselors were also on the school board, and that was just this wonderful, natural, alignment. And Jim Morris, the superintendent, and I have a great relationship. We call each other all the time on a lot of things. So I always feel very comfortable with what's going on just because we talk and we go to lunch. But I've got to start
Building that relationship.
That'll be new.
And with Elizabeth,
And a new UNH.
how were the vibes when you met her?
I thought it was great. It was very positive. Specifically, there was a lot of people in the big room at Holloway Commons. Everyone was waiting to talk with her, and the provost brought me over to sort of cut me in line so I could say hi without waiting for an hour. And so I briefly said hello, and then, to be gracious, passed her along to the next person. And I then went to talk with some other people in the room, just generally, and maybe 20 minutes later, she came over on her own and engaged me and said, I just wanted to say hi again and let you know I'd love to get together this summer. She's planning to, I think, move in around June 19th or so, sometime mid-June. And she was hoping after she begins, July 1st, if we could get together this summer. And she said she'd really like to come over here and meet in our office rather than on campus. And I said, that'd be fabulous. I said, I'll take you for a walk. I've done that with past presidents. And so we walk around and look at stuff and say, hey, this is how things shape up. So I was really, this is the first president who's got out of line and come over to engage me.
Amherst, UMass, so she's not unfamiliar with university towns, but their town is separate, more separate from the campus than ours. We're a university with a town in it, not a town with a university in it, to some extent.
Right.
That's all.
But your most recent assignment was at Washington State University, and Pullman is relationship with WSU is not quite as lopsided as UNH and Durham, but it's a rather big university for the town it's in.
I still have PTSD from trying to negotiate the pool.
Yeah.
She hikes, kayaks, and she's a choral singer, so she's good with me.
All right. So are we done with the goals?
With,
Yes.
not fast enough to think on the fly in terms of how to reorganize that. So could I have a little license in how I do it, whether it's bullet, but I want to do it where it flows from the first thought in A, but I completely get Councillor Lund's goal. Things are standalone too.
Yeah,
I just don't know quite how to do it sitting here right now.
If you feel that you need time to wordsmith it, then let's leave that here and be prepared to adopt these goals at the next meeting.
Right. I think we want to see the
Yeah.
package done.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan. It'll be on the
Just one
agenda.
little side note, the largest budget we fund is the county budget. It's just spread over more towns, but the county budget is twice as big as our school and town combined, the overall county budget, the Stratford County. Set by the legislative delegation.
Right, right, but that the towns that covers include Dover and Rochester, each of which is twice the size of Durham.
Yeah.
3 times the size.
It's the smallest number on our tax bill.
Yeah.
But it
How
is
do
the
they
biggest.
allocate that to the communities?
What's that?
How do they allocate the county budget to each community?
You know, I
Yeah.
forget.
It's by equalized valuation.
Equalized valuation.
They equalize
Right.
every community in the county, and then it's allocated that way. So it's by valuation.
Okay.
And
Right,
We
right,
can't
our County Commissioner Maglaris was here sometime before Councilor Buber joined the council to explain the process. Okay.
And also, as a town, when we're establishing the overall tax rate with school board and the town, we also have to include the county.
Right, because we collect it for all of those agencies. There's also a nominally state portion of property tax,
Yes.
which we collect and hand over to Concord.
Yeah, lots of pieces. Yes,
I'd like to move we adjourn.
is there a second?
Second that.
Second from Councilor Grant, motion from Councilor Ford. All those in favor, not have to vote, but we're all in favor? Heather, you're in favor? We're good?
I
Anybody
just had
opposed?
text. I can't wait to be in my car.